Greetings out there and welcome to my channel. I'm Morris Man, and today I'm going to do a very special video, and I'm going to try my best to condense this because it's going to be a lot of information that I'm going to try to share today. And it's going to start off, the title is, what does a music producer do? Because oddly enough, I had somebody ask me that question a couple of weeks ago, and they said, well, you do music production, so what is it that you do? And it's really kind of a vast definition. I'm going to give you my definition, and then I'm going to talk about other definitions that they claim to be what they are. And I can go by, basically what I've done. My first music production project that I was hired to do, I was probably maybe 26 years old. And a childhood friend of mine who was a very industrious businessman decided to manage a singing group. So he brought them to me because he had heard about, what I had been doing in the area as far as productions. And, we go back a long way. We were kids. We knew each other as kids. Really nice guy. So he came to me and said, I have a group that I want you to produce because they're very talented. So he brought them over to my house. And it was a young lady and her cousin. They were a duet. And I agree, when I heard them, it just blew me away because this woman could sing. The other guy could play piano. He sang well, pretty well as well. So I said, I'd be more than happy to help you, do production work. And that was basically my first production job, other than the stuff I'd done for myself and my band. So they came over with a demo. And the demo was really nice. It was a nice R&B ballad. And what basically a music producer does is he arranges. He's actually basically a music arranger as well. It's kind of the same umbrella, basically the same job. And before I kind of go into what I do as a producer, I'm going to just touch on these other so-called producers. And I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just saying what I feel and what I think. And it's not necessarily mean that I'm right, but this is my opinion. People like P. Diddy, who claim to be a music producer, and I'm like, how can you be a music producer when you can't play an instrument or read music? It's like, that's one of the most important ingredients to be able to do what you do. But I'm going to explain to you my definition of those types of quote-unquote music producers, because basically all they are is the funders. They're the people that put it together financially and other marketing reasons or marketing ways. But as far as actually sitting down with sheet music, or this is what I want the piano player to do, this is what I want the guitar players to do, they don't do that, but they claim that they do, but they don't. But getting back to my first music project. So they brought over this demo of a song that they wrote. It was a really nice song. So as I'm listening to it, the female was singing lead, and the keyboard player and her cousin, who's also a singer, good singer too, he was singing in the background. They were both singing in the background harmonies. I said, the first thing I want to do is take your vocals out of the background. And they was like, why? Because I visualize you as the lead singer, so we want to put you out there. We don't want to put you in the back as well. I said, what I suggest is we add another harmony from your cousin, have him do two-part harmony in the background as you sing lead. And at first they was kind of skeptical about that, but once we finished the project, they said, you were right. And what I also did when they brought me the demo was, as I listened to it, it was just piano and the vocals. I wrote in a bass line, I wrote in two guitar parts, and then I wrote in a string part that I played. So, when we went to tape it, it was full. And that's what music producers do. They hear things in their head and they try to put it on wax as far as, I think this will work. Because again, back in the day, music producers or music arrangers in the 60s, they wrote out the parts for these instruments. A good example is something like this. Music producer hears this and say, you know what, a D major 7 chord would sound better on the Fender Rhodes as opposed to the guitar playing it. We're going to have the guitar playing either doing a lead line or something else that complements it as opposed to clashing with it. I mean, music production is kind of a very detailed type of responsibility. You're responsible for arranging all the music, and in order to do that, you have to know how to play an instrument. It's almost impossible to get around being able to read or play an instrument if you're going to do this. Because again, that other definition of music producer, or guitar player, I want you to play something. That's not music production. I mean, the guitar player is playing something which is really his composition or part or contribution. It's not really the music producer, you know. So unfortunately, there's been a division between the definitions. And like I said, I'm going to try my best to condense this. I might even do two parts because there's so much information I want to share with you guys. But something happened in the early 80s that changed R&B music forever. And a lot of people don't even realize it took place. The change in music, R&B music, is attributed to cocaine. And like, how do you put those two together? And I'm going to tell you why. Prior to a rash of crack cocaine hitting the streets in New York City and spreading all over the country, the music industry, for the most part, were composed of people that actually could play. They were musicians, they were arrangers, you know, they knew their craft. Now, what happened was when cocaine hit the streets, a lot of people that was just hustling actually became very wealthy and hustling drugs. And a lot of people, you know, you probably don't realize this because I was in banking for like 27 years, and I'm going to touch on that too. So I know about, you know, the financial aspect of things running, how it's running this country. And I'm not talking about I was employed with a commercial bank. I was actually employed with the largest bank in the world. So I know quite a bit about finances when it comes to certain things. And what some people don't realize is this. You come into probably, let's say, a legitimate inheritance. Your parents died and they left you all this money, or you were doing drugs or selling drugs and made a whole lot of money. If you were to go into any bank and deposit $10,000, this is what happens. And again, most people don't realize this. Once you deposit that money, the bank contacts the FBI because it's not that often that people just come out of nowhere and deposit that kind of money unless they're doing something illegal. In some cases, but in some cases like inheritance or winnings, it's legitimate. But they do that even with car sales. When you go in to buy a brand new car and you pay with it in cash, the first call they're making is to the FBI. So a lot of drug dealers start to get wind of this and say, you know what, I need to launder my money. I need to put it somewhere where it won't be looked upon or scrutinized or the FBI be in contact. So all of a sudden, literally overnight, a whole bunch of record labels start to spring up because these guys had a lot of money, had no music experience, but they had a lot of money and they like music, so they decided they're going to try to do this. And that's when the birth of the dabblers came in. Guys that play with one hand on the piano and think they piano players. Guys that play two chords or don't know how to write songs other than two-chord songs came into place. Prior to that, it was composed of very seasoned musicians, very seasoned producers. But unfortunately, when the drug thing kicked in, and all these guys start dabbling in the music industry and they start bringing in people that didn't know nothing about playing music and half doing it and bringing DJs in to write songs or, you know, produce songs. That's when, to me, R&B took a big step down because, again, today, music compared to yesterday, and I'll give you a good example. I bought this Justin Timberlake book off of Amazon for like $1. I'm like, okay, I'll play some of this new stuff for the young folks that want to hear me play some of the new stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to play this entire song or this entire book. And I went through and I'm like, it's not really doable because what I tend to notice, and I knew it already, but this just confirmed it, that I'm looking at, and let me just say this first. Justin Timberlake is a very talented guy. He is. He sings very well. He's a great dancer and, you know, great entertainer. But I'm looking at the stuff that was written for him. And let me look this song. Let's just take this one for an example. It's called, you probably won't be able to see this. It's called Sexy Ladies. And it was written by Justin Timberlake, Nat Hills, and Tim Mosley. And let me see. It's like 4 pages. And there's only, one chord. A minor. You know, just that. It's like, you know, the majority of this stuff in this book is just 1 to 2 or 3 chord songs. And the question that people have, well, what's wrong with that? I'm going to give you a good example of what's wrong with that. If somebody were to walk up to you and say, you need to communicate with me, but I'm going to give you a sheet of paper and they only consist of 15 words, and these are the only 15 words you can use to communicate, you wouldn't do a good job. As opposed to somebody walked up to you with a telephone book with 1,000,000 words and say, go to town. That's the same thing with music. The more chords, the more expression in the vocals and the melody. You know, if you confine yourself to just 1 or 2 chords, you can't do too much communicating melody-wise with just 2 chords. But a lot of young folks today know nothing about that because they didn't take any formal classes. They dabbled. They picked up a handful of chords here and there, and they call themselves musicians or music producers, which is kind of sad because you're no music producer or really no musician. So unfortunately, as a result of the drug, kicking in and all these music companies springing up, all these dabblers kicked into the music industry. That's why the R&B world is what it is at this point. I love artists like India Aria. I love her stuff because, you look at her stuff and you see these beautiful, exotic chords, and I can't wait to play them to see how they fit in the context with the song. And the majority, well, I won't say the majority, all of her songs are very well written, beautiful chord progressions, a lot of unique chord voicings, because I got both of her books, and I think she got a third one. I'm going to grab that. Here's another guy to look out for, Craig Davis. When first Craig Davis came onto the scene, I said, man, somebody's going to finally save R&B music. Because here's a young guy from England, and people from England love our music. They respect us as far as what we do. And he doesn't use a whole lot of chords, but he uses enough to get his point across, and his melodies are just beautiful. I am a huge fan of Craig David, from the very first album to the last one. But that's what music producers do old school wise, and that's what music producers in this era do now. Just a lot of dabblers. You can hear it in the music, and I'm not knocking the music of today. I get people that send me a lot of emails as far as how are you able to put together so many videos so quickly and learn all these songs. And it's pretty simple. I know how to play my instrument. That's the first step. You got to learn how to play your instrument. And then second, you learn structure of song, which I detail in the DVDs that I have for sale as far as cutting through the chase and saving yourself years of dabbling, trying to figure it out, and have music teachers teach you stuff you would never use. And, I teach you how to go straight to what you need to learn how to play the guitar and play it, right. Look at my videos. I got almost 600 videos, and I play all different styles of music, There's nothing really off limits that I can't do. There's some things I don't really like to do and I don't do. But other than that, you can do the same, But there's a system, as far as learning. You play your instrument, learning the structure of songs, how to dissect them as far as what are the chords used in the verse, what are the chords used in the chorus, the bridge. I'm done, just that simple. But I'm going to sign off, and I probably would do a part 2 to this because I just couldn't cover everything that I wanted to cover in this one video. So until next time, thank you and take care.